Hello and welcome back to the Rugby Pod. I'm Andy Rowan. Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual. We're going to take a look back at a busy final round of Premiership action. Then we'll be chatting about Mad Monday, Eddie Jones's England squad, and we'll be speaking to Bristol second row and England international Dave Atwood ahead of the Premiership semi-finals. So lie back, make yourself comfortable, take your pants off if you want. Make sure you subscribe to Spotify. How's your week been, boys?
Take your pants off.
It's hot enough.
Lie comfortable. Lie comfortable. No. None of those things.
I've taken my pants off because it is absolutely roasting, which is great because we've been complaining about the weather. But Jim, how are you, son? How the hell are you?
Better. Listen to the positivity. Better.
Lazarus?
I would not say Lazarus, no. So let's get a few things. Let's get the formalities out of the way. Ben Nevis didn't happen, right? So for anyone wondering,
you pulled out of another one, didn't you?
Again, third time, fourth time. I don't even know. It's embarrassing now. I'm happy to hold my hands up and say it's embarrassing, but what can you do? Now, there's a blame. Every time there's a blame, there's a claim. We'll come on to the claim later. The blame is, I'm going to call this guy out, friend of the show, Stevie Ferris. So I spoke to him before we did the podcast last week and said, mate, look, my back's fucked. I look like an S when I look at myself in the mirror. I'm turning into a bit of a flunk because I've not trained in a couple of weeks. I need to get at Ben Nevis with Andy Rowe. What do I need to do? And as we know, Stevie Ferris has got arms like legs, but he's also had back problems, right? And he's bald. Not that that matters, but we'll just add that in there anyway. So Stevie said, you need to stretch it out. So before the podcast, I'm stretching it out and like squeezing against the kind of pain and the alignment. I was out of line, so I was trying to push myself back in the line. Next thing I felt a pop before the podcast. I was like, all right, well, feels a bit better. Couldn't walk for 3 days.
And don't I know it, Jim?
Have I been moaning?
I mean, literally so you're on your back. Let's set the scene. You've been on your back for 3 days last week, and all you can do is play with your phone. You can't play with your kids. You can't get up and do any work. You can't
30%.
My God, the screen time. The amount of messages that are coming through, the pictures, the best bit, videos. And I'll share this with the millions. So Jim's been on his back for 3 days. I'm like, mate, how are you going to the toilet? Is the missus having to hold you over the toilet, like help you in any which way? He sends me a video of him lying down in his house, and a lot of back shots there. Mighty fine house, James, that you've acquired through Spotify.
Well, so I'm more through the 15 years of injury in my back, but thank you.
Oh, Saracens, yeah, of course. And he sent me a video of him peeing into a protein shaker cup because that is the only way he can go to the toilet. So,
because they are the longest cups.
Exactly. And my goodness, if I thought it was small before, Jim, when your disc goes in your back, it gets even smaller, doesn't it? What's that about?
Well, it's fear. It's like fear mode. It's like I always said, if my pants got ripped off in a rugby match, right, it would be worse than Paul Scholes. You may as well call me Jane. You ain't calling me James. You're calling me Jane. And comedy had to get me through. Now, on the Monday when we recorded the podcast, and thanks to Stevie Ferris, on the Tuesday, no word of a lie, I was crawling. You know that Wolf of Wall Street where he's crawling to the car because he's had a lot of chemicals in his system? Mine was obviously very different.
Very different.
But it looked very similar, is what I'm saying. So I'm crawling down the stairs like a snake, and I couldn't even lift myself up to go to the toilet. So obviously I've gone in the protein shaker cup because it's extra long, and as you do, you video it and send it to your mates, do you not? Because that's what us normal lads do. So look, I don't know what to say. I'm embarrassed. Andy Rowe and Gorgeous Chris, the poor lads, booked their trains. They were expecting me on Eton Mess a couple of weeks before, and I had to pull out and say, acceptance, as we know, is the first step to recovery. Now, I've just had to accept that I'm struggling. So a couple of back scans lined up this week, an epidural maybe. There's a few shout-outs, but I'm not giving the shout-outs to the people that have helped me until I am up and not walking, because I walked today and people are honking the horn. Obviously, podcasters are shouting stuff out the window. What have you got up there? Talking about. and I'm laughing now. I can laugh because I'm not in that much pain. But I can't even turn my head left or right. I'm just literally walking not that I walk well anyway, but anyway, lads, I think I'm on the mend. I think I've got an epidural lined up. I'm not too sure. I don't want to forward think the process of treatment that I need. But thank you for your concern. Every message that I send to both Andy Rowe and you, Goody, it's so sympathetic. Like you genuinely from your heart, is it bollocks? Write back and say, how are you? But for the millions of people asking and that have reached out and offered me anything and everything from insoles to Swiss balls to massage gels.
It's a penis extension because it was tiny.
So much skin.
Can you get them or not? Can you? Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's a lot of skin. Can you?
Yeah, you can. Well, the best bit about the week was when Jim was telling me the story of. I said, mate, you know, our raging is back because you ain't the best at the best of times in terms of being helpful around the house, are you? Let's be honest. You're a worker, and when it comes to the house chores and the kids, that's not your genre.
I'm a hooverer. My genre is the hoover. So I go around hoovering everything up, the kids' pants or whatever, because I can't bend over. So everything gets hoovered up, which I've not been able to do for a couple of weeks.
I'm sat there thinking, I know Becky's an absolute saint for putting up with what she puts up with you, but I said, like, is she helping you out as well? And then Jim tells me the story that as she's trying to help him put his box shorts on, she just starts laughing at him. And you tell the story because you told me, I told my missus, and she's crying with laughter as well. So Becky's physically laughing at you. She's not pissing herself because that's rude to say that about a lady, but she is absolutely dying with laughter while trying to put your box shorts on. And what was a reason for that, James?
I can't go into the details of what's said in my house, but all I can say is the word burnt conker was used in the sentence.
It's so small it looks like a burnt conker. Oh, so shout out to Beck. She's given us a giggle this week in our house.
But I should say, back pain, amongst all the things that I've had, I'd say this is the most pain. And as you know, Andrew, I don't know whether because I'm aging slightly that I'm less of a warrior. But I'm all right with pain. I like a moan, but generally I get on with it. But I'm telling you now, the back pain, oh my goodness me, complete debilitation. But look, I'm still standing better than I've ever been. What a voice.
I mean, let's just be clear, Jim. You know, you promised the world and you're basically all fart and no poo, aren't you? Because you promised to do the Eaton Mess, you promised to do up Ben Nevis, some other challenges, yet time after time after time. Just join my world and just say you can't do it because you fucked. Just
on them challenges, Andrew.
Yeah.
We've given FNL Mike a shout out, haven't we? A couple of weeks in a row. The poor bugger is 3 days in from Edinburgh Castle to Windsor Castle last week, goes to Costa, gets himself, probably knowing FNL Mike, it would have been a triple frappuccino with cream and whatever on top with a plastic straw. He ain't bothered. Goes in with the other lads, gets himself a frappuccino, sitting outside, lording it up, thinking, right, I'm halfway through. Wakes up the next day, and I'm following them on my back. I don't know if I told you that I was on my back all last week. I'm following him on the track thing, the Garmin thing, and he's done a circle. And I've texted him and said, mate, like, you're going the wrong way. You're going around in circles, trying to get a bit of banter from the floor. He says, oh, no, I've just had a message come through from NHS Track and Trace. I've got to self-isolate because I was in close contact with someone in Costa.
Oh, no.
Over. God. I mean, how about 3 days into it? 3 days into a massive fundraising bike ride, and you get that news.
And I just said to him, FNL, that was it. Hung up.
FNL, never get the Costa. Never get a Frappuccino in Costa.
Goody, how was your weekend, mate?
Yeah, not bad, actually. Back to work. Huh?
Farm again?
A different farm. We went to a different farm this week.
Bloody love
the farm. Yeah, kids love the farm. We went to a farm on Sunday. But yeah, it was good again. Mrs. woke up really happy Saturday morning. I thought to her, I said, yeah, you know, things are good. The sun's out. You're happy. Why are you so happy? You know, when your missus is really happy, trying to work out why. And she said, you know why? No, well, not in your house. And she said to me, I said, why are you so happy? She said, do you know why? I said, go on, tell me. She said, because you're fucking off up to Coventry all day to work, and I'm on my own with the kids, and it'll be absolute bliss. So she was happy to see me off. I was up to the Andy Good suite, which was absolutely rammed again on Saturday at the Rico Arena, soon to be known as the Coventry Building Society Arena. It's got a real ring to it, that, hasn't it? So, yeah, it was great. Obviously, Wasps against Leicester. So good to have fans back at the stadium. A bit of banter pre-match with Joe Launchbury and Paolo Adoglu, who came in his cultured clothing, which I thought looked like fancy dress. So I gave him dog's abuse for that, which he wasn't very happy with. And he said to me, I haven't got anything in quadruple XL for you, Goody. So no free stash coming from his clothing range, let me tell you. But yeah, it was a good day. And then I've just been back on the bike. And I've got a question to ask. So obviously I did that bike ride for Care of Police Survivors last week in the Blue Light Cycling Club. So it's got me back into it. The sun's been out. I thought,
got you back into what?
Again.
It's got you back into what?
Cycling, Jim.
Okay. I saw, Andrew, you had your trainers on. You didn't even have your cleats on. You had your trainers
I ain't got cleats. I ain't got cleats because my ankles are fucked. I can't get my foot in a cleat and try and kick out because I've got pins and plates in my ankle, James. So I just do it old school. But I've got back into my cycling. And, I'm not like you, Jim, going to promise the world. I just do my 40K, little loop I've got, 40K, and I'm happy. But this time I thought I'm going to go a different way over the weekend. And I've started going, has this ever happened to you, boys? So I started going up this hill. And with my ankle, I can't put too much pressure through it. So I can't, as you go up a hill, you often get out of the seat, don't you?
No, I'm generally just in my seat the whole way.
There you go. Well, anyone that is truthful when they cycle, they know going up a steep hill, you get out your seat and you pump it a bit. I can't do that physically at the minute because my ankle's still very sore. So I have to sit in my seat. I've got my Strava on. I'm going up the hill in the lowest gear possible. And my Strava's just come out with pausing ride. I'm like, what the fuck are you? I'm still going here. I'm so slow up the hill. 105 kilos that Strava thinks I've stopped, and I haven't. I'm still going.
Strava thinks you're the traffic lights.
Mate, then I'm trying to press the button to get it to go again, and it stops, and I'm just raging. So,
the electric button?
Yeah, the electric button, to take me up the hill, James. So, that was as fun as my weekend got. Strava just taking the piss out of me as well for basically not being able to move up a hill because I'm 105 kilos, and the bike's very heavy, and I just can't get out of the seat to get some momentum up those hills, James.
What's your name on Strava? I don't even follow you on there.
I'm private, mate. I'm very private.
You're a ghost.
Well, when I first started, Jim, I started posting on there, and then I started to get 2 or 3 messages, mate. We can tell where you live now. Don't post on Strava.
That as well.
So I've come straight off it. I don't want anyone coming to rob the house when I'm out on my bike. So I've made it private. So it's just for me, just for my use, James, and I'm not going to be like you and say I'm going to do all these challenges when I've got no fucking chance of doing it.
We'll come on to the Premiership in a minute, but Eddie Jones named his England squad for the summer's tests against Scotland A, USA and Canada on Thursday. What do you guys make of it?
Young and quite exciting seeing some of the players. I think the big thing, obviously, there's going to be players from Quins, players from Bristol, players from Exeter, and players from Sale that are added to the squad over the next couple of weeks as they get knocked out of the Premiership or the Premiership ultimately comes to an end. So, it's a really exciting play. Dan Kelly at Leicester, we've spoken about him previously. He played really well again at the weekend against Wasps. He was good. So looking forward to seeing him play. The likes of Hassel Collins and Radwan and Freddie Stewart in the back three. These are the sort of players that will get game time, hopefully, against Scotland A, and probably put 60 points on them. And that builds then into the 2 test matches. Sorry, Jim. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's true.
It might not be.
So, listen, there's loads of places that are in the England squad. In my opinion, there needs to be more competition. Scrum half's one as well. Obviously, Ben Youngs has got, I think he's about 109 caps now or something. But we've never really seen anyone else. Dan Robson, it's an opportunity to see him start. Obviously, Ben Spencer's there as well, Alex Mitchell. But Eddie Jones, all of a sudden, he starts listening to the podcast, he starts changing his tune, and he starts thinking, actually, I've got to make some changes. I need some young blood. I need to play a more attacking brand of rugby. So to all England fans, you're welcome. Because these are the messages that he's now putting out in the press in his self-announced press conferences that he does. And the one big thing is we're seeing these players excelling and playing an exciting brand of rugby in the Premiership, which Eddie Jones has always said isn't relevant necessarily to international rugby, which I get to a certain degree. But you're now picking these players, Eddie, because they are exciting, because they have got the talent, they have got the ability to beat people one-on-one. Hassel Collins has beaten, more defenders than anyone else at London Irish this year, and he's right up there in terms of the league rankings. So allow them to flourish in an England shirt. Don't put the shackles on them and play kick chase. That's what you want to see. So loads of exciting talent. No doubt the likes of Don Brandt and Marcus Smith will be added to it as well. And hopefully Eddie lets the boys play with a smile on their face and gives them freedom.
And Ireland have named their squad for the summer too now. Cooney misses out through injury along with Ross Byrne, and Sexton's been rested. So a chance for Carberry and Billy Burns to vie for that 10 spot.
Well, it was nice that John Cooney, a friend of the show, we've not had him on for a while. We've just let him get on with his ruggers and push his way back in. He's been really good for Ulster, actually. But it's nice that he got a mention is what I'm saying, because he's obviously been out of the mixer, and they only mention players that would have been up for contention if they are injured. So I've looked at some of the forwards. Ryan Beard. Now, I mentioned him about a year ago.
Oh, my try.
But he's phenomenal. I'll tell you now, he is going to be one of the standout players in world rugby. And I don't want to get overboard on players. Obviously, James Ryan's captain of the tour, but this Ryan Beard, mate, is phenomenal. Let's give a few other lads a shout out. So some uncapped players. Paul Boyle, Susan Boyle's son. He's not really. Connor Batrow, fantastic player. Gavin Coombs scored 4 tries at the weekend for Munster. He's going to be proper. He'll go all the way through. Tom O'Toole and Nick Timoney, both quality players. Love Tom O'Toole.
Hell of a tool on him as well, mate. Hell of a tool.
Apparently not. Apparently a bum bag. I don't want to stereotype, but apparently so. Who else have we got? So in the backs, friend of the show, Stuart McCluskey. Look, and there's obviously a load more good you can chat about as the ones that you want. The strength and depth of Ireland. This is the thing of coming through. Obviously, we can look. We've just spoken about England and gone through their players. We're heavy on the Premiership on here because we watch a lot of the Prem. The Pro 14 sometimes difficult to judge in terms of the players. Leinster have got first, second, third, fourth string team, but there's some proper talent coming through the ranks, especially in the forwards of Ireland. So the headline out of that is that Johnny Sexton's being rested to try and have a full pre-season at the age of 35, 36. But
I think the big news on it in terms of the backs is obviously Joey Carberry, who I like to call Toby Carvery because generally he carves up when he plays. So excited to see him. He's had obviously he went to Munster to go and get some more game time and really put pressure on Johnny Sexton for that 10 shirt. He's had a load of injury troubles. He was going well and then he got injured. So, him and Billy Burns vying for the 10 spot, but, Joey Carvery is a proper threat now to the reign of Johnny Sexton as the 10. And, I've got a lot of time for Sexton, but at some point you do have to make that transition and Sexton will probably want to hang around till the next World Cup, and if he's playing well enough, I'm sure he'll be involved. But Carberry is proper talent, so looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, it's great to see him back.
Let's have a look at the Premiership now then, and the cancellation of Bristol v London Irish, as well as Worcester v Gloucester, made the maths and permutations a bit simpler. Leicester, Bath and Wasps were the teams to secure Champions Cup rugby in the end, weren't they?
Oh, yes. And the fact that Leicester and Wasps have both qualified for the Champions Cup, even though Wasps lost to Leicester at the weekend.
What a game, though, right?
Hell of a game, mate. It was about 46 degrees. Costa del Coventry it was. The pitch was looking stunning. The fans were back. As I said before the game, the Andy Goose Suite was absolutely ramdingoed, but everyone was sat down with their masks on, following COVID rules. Eat out to take out to eat out, but don't eat out.
But don't eat out. Now, on 19th of July. Andrew, did anyone ask for me in the Andy Goose Suite or not?
They didn't,
because
Jim.
I think when you think, right, and this sounds mental to even think about, I think I was in there the last time it was open. I think that was
second last time.
Oh, don't ruin
second
it.
Last time. Well, we did the Prem final last year, didn't we? We did the Prem final last year.
You know what I mean? As in, when things were like Smoking Joe's or Simone Joe's or whatever. Like when life was life.
Yeah, and it was that long ago that Sarries were in the Premiership and they got dusted by about 60 points. So it was good. It was good to be back up there. But I mean, hell of a game. And you look at. That's the first time Leicester have won at the Ricoh Arena since the very first game, 2015, which I played in and had an absolute mare. Dan Cole, I pulled his shirt up over his belly in that game and he chased me around the whole pitch for the rest of the game trying to get my belly out. So, it was a brilliant performance by Leicester, a brilliant performance by Wasps as well. So exciting, chucking the ball around. Wasps made a few errors where they're really pushing the envelope to try and get silly offloads away a lot of the time, but that's their DNA. Leicester were really good, really impressed. One thing for me, and I know Freddie Burns, big friend of the show.
You're going to say the same as me. Carcassonne bloke who's going to Carcassonne. Can you believe it? Go on, you go.
Yeah, Johnny McPhillips. Johnny McPhillips has played so well for Leicester this year, and he doesn't just play at 10; he plays at fullback. But I spoke to some very important people at Leicester, and they said it was just a numbers game around the salary cap. But he played really well at 10. Kelly was great in the centres. Matt Scott played very well. One of the tries that those boys scored was ridiculous. And Wasp played well as well. Jacob Umunga's try was, world class. Just getting the kick and then stepping a couple of boys and the argument. It was a great game of ruggers. And I think the fact that they knew the London Irish game had been cancelled and London Irish were only going to get 2 points, which meant Wasps only needed to get a bonus point of some description to qualify for the Champions Cup next year. Meant they were going to go chase the 4 tries. That's in their DNA anyway, but it was a brilliant game. And, the next time we go to the Ricoh Arena, it won't be called the Ricoh Arena. As we said before, it'd be called the Coventry Building Society Arena. And what a game to finish the Ricoh Arena that was. Leicester, they've really come on strong under Bortas the second part of the season. Obviously, they had the gnarliness around the forward back, but they've married that up with a bit of detail in attack, and they're going to push on again next year.
It was touch and go for a while for Bath, but they did what they had to do against Saints.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I did enjoy was Austin Healey, triple, quadruple, I don't know what, if you've got 5 screens, what number that is, how you say it, 5th off screening. I did enjoy that, and I only watched the highlights from that game. Loads of tries, back and forth. Lucky for Bath. I don't want to be horrible. Lucky for Bath, to be fair, in the end. But Northampton played some great ruggers.
All I'm going to say is Josh Bayliss, oh my wheels. Unbelievable. Bath knew they had to get a losing bonus point or a 4-try bonus point or something to get European rugby. It was all about 1 point for them. So they were staying tight to Saints. They're in the battle. It was always a case that they were going to qualify with a bonus point. But to get the victory and then Bayliss finish off their season the way he did with silly wheels, like ridiculous wheels. There were backs chasing him and he was just going further and further away from them. So, Saints rocked up. A couple of calls went against them, according to Chris Boyd. But, they were already qualified for the Champions Cup. They couldn't make the top 4. Bath had everything to play for, and they rocked up because they knew next season so important to be in that top tier of Europe. And they've had a bit of luck, haven't they, I reckon, Bath, and Wasps a little bit just because of some COVID cancellations. It'd have been interesting to see what Gloucester could have done, because they had a couple of games before where they were starting to hit some form. But there it is. The dust is settled, and Wasps, Bath, and Leicester took the last 3 spots.
Newcastle had an outside chance at the start of the day, but they were absolutely pumped by Quins, weren't they?
I can't believe Newcastle. I don't want to be horrible. We got a few friends of the show. Dino's going to come on soon. Fernsy's been on, and Toby Flood's got 5 years left in him. And I don't know if they had much of a chance really. Quins just turn it on when it matters, Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, it was the first half was, Newcastle made a bit of a fist of it, to be honest. But then you always knew Quins leading into playoff semis next week at home, last game of the season, sun's out, guns out, and all that stuff. They're an exciting team, aren't they? They're loose, and their ethos is we'll score more than the opposition. It's never necessarily about defence for them. So it'll be interesting to see how they go in the semis now against Bristol's, and we'll hear a bit more about that in a bit. But they're always going to dominate Newcastle there. Newcastle they've fallen off a little bit towards the back end of the season, especially defensively, conceded a boatload of points. So they'll regroup over the summer and try and push on and crack towards the top 8. But it can be an interesting season next year with 13 teams in the Prem and probably no relegation as well, if that's still to be fully confirmed. You just hope there's no dead rubbers again. But it is what it is. Quins are a proper team at home. They've been very good there since they had their pants pulled down by extra on the opening day of the season. And it was always going to happen that Newcastle were going to fall away, and taking 50 is never good though. Last game of the season, is it?
It was a hell of a game at Sandy Park as well, wasn't it?
My word. I didn't realise if Sale would go into Sandy Park and got 5 points and extra got nothing, then they'd get a home semi. Did not realise that.
And it was looking that way, wasn't it?
I couldn't believe it. I genuinely. Exeter went full noise.
Yeah.
And Rob Baxter was asked the question before, are you happy you've gone full noise, knowing that you've obviously qualified already, as we know, for the top 4, but going into that game against Sale, who everyone thought just needed to get something out of it. No one thought that Sale could go there. And for 50 minutes, they looked unbelievable, didn't they? Physical. We keep talking about Dupree and Faf de Klerk and AJ McGinty. It's like, when I look at it, I'm like, can Sale win it, right? Defensively, we know that they can. We know Al Sanderson has brought something in it. Are there any flaws in their game? Their discipline, yes. And Al Sanderson mentioned this next bit was their set piece. Struggled, just extra turn the screw. And I think it just I can't work out whether it shows how good Exeter are, the fact that they came back, or whether they're not as good as they were. And now teams have caught them up naturally, and Sale are going to cause them problems. But if you listen to Al Anderson's interview, he was proper serious after the match. And the big thing for them, losing AJ McGinty and Van der Merwe, the hooker, as well, is... Yeah, I think that's the game of the weekend for me. Obviously, both games are going to be quality, but I can see Bristol beating Quins comfortably. Yeah. And but this one, I reckon Sale have got a chance.
Well, they have got a chance, Jim, because, but the big thing is, and obviously Sam Skinner's going to probably get a decent ban, 3 or 4 week ban for his high shot on after club. Dave Ewers has been cited, so we'll see what comes of that. Obviously, the citing commissioner thinks it, by citing him, they're saying it should have been a red card. So it now goes to the disciplinary procedure and see if he gets a ban. So the big thing for me for Sale is losing Aka van der Merwe at hooker. He gives them so much go forward. Now, Langdon's a good player. He's a great player to come off the bench when you need some energy, and his set piece is probably a little bit better in terms of line-out throwing than Aka van der Merwe's. But McGinty's one, it looked pretty serious in terms of a knee. I don't know if it was ACL or something, or medials, something like that. But to get stretched off, I can't see McGinty playing this week, and he has been integral to their success. Now, Dupree is a good player, but you go back some of the touches and just the game management of McGinty over the last 6, 8, 10 weeks has been phenomenal for Sale. So I do think even if you lose, I do think even if you lose Ewers and obviously Skinner, Sale, even if you do lose Ewers and Skinner, obviously Exeter have got players to come in of decent quality that will have as bigger impact as those boys. Whereas I think Sale, when you take AJ McGinty out and Aka van der Merwe, you're missing a massive amount of physicality from van der Merwe. He gets them over the game line, 9 times out of 10 when he's touching the ball. And McGinty's class and game management and what he's produced in managing this team could be missed as well. So I think it's an advantage Exeter, especially being at home. But I always think, playing a team back to back is always difficult. Obviously all momentum is now with Exeter because they've got the home semi-final and they beat them, they came back. But there will be that nagging thing around, Sale took it to us in that opening 40 minutes and just blitzed us off the park, really, with their physicality. If they can, and Sale will be thinking, if we can just do that for 75 minutes, we've got them. So it's going to be a hell of a ding-dong. And I think back to when we played Wasps, when I was at Leicester, we played Wasps. And we put 50 points on them last game of the season in the Premiership.
I remember
in the Premiership. Yeah, played them in the Premiership final 2 weeks later, and we got our arses handed to us. So
well, Whitey did it at the front of the line-out. Whitey
blame
got done a few times. Yeah, I'm not going to blame Julian White because even at the age of 70, he'd still eat me. So, but it was Whitey's fault.
So the toughest one to call is that semi, I think, between Exeter and Sale. But I just think Exeter have still got too much.
Well, let's just get your final predictions then. Who's going to win each semi-final?
Well, Andrew's now talked me out of Sale winning off the back of that. Exeter, is Johnny Gray going to be fit? Jack Knoll going to be fit? I think, and I'm giving you a long-winded answer here, but I think the fixes that Sale need to beat Exeter, i.e. set piece, which then converts to penalties, which then converts to kick to the corner, set piece, line out, pick and go, you ain't stopping it. Yeah, I think Exeter but I want to see Sale. I want to see a change of guard because I love Al Sanderson. I love the way that Sale are playing. Obviously, Simon Orange is there, mates with his brother Jason, and I would like to see that. Yes, for sure.
I would as well, Jim. I'd love to see Sale go all the way. Good people at that club, as you said. I just can't see it, so I'm going to back Exeter on that one.
Bristol Quins.
What a win, Jim.
Bristol's just because
you had to think about it, did you?
Well, I was just thinking about how the game is going to unfold because you've got two teams that want to play. But looking at the teams and whatever team Bristol field, and it's going to be interesting to see what their starting 15 is, especially in the back line. Does Max Malins play? Semi, the Piatows, just to name two. And Quins are a team that want to try and outscore you. Are you going to outscore Bristol's? That's the big question. And I'm going to answer it for you. I don't think that they will. So I think Bristol's will win it.
Yeah. I think when you're looking at that game, and there's a stat I pulled up on BT Sport a couple of weeks ago, Bristol's have got the top 3 defence and attack in the league in terms of tries scored and tries conceded. Quins are up there in terms of tries scored, but tries conceded, I think they're down in 10th. So they've conceded a ridiculous amount. And when you're playing Bristol with that firepower, the only thing is, in that game, neither team has got history of winning semi-finals and then going on to the final, really. Quins have years ago, but a few of them left. Bristol's got absolutely humped in the semi last year against Wasps, didn't they? So that's a reminder to them that actually how well you play in the league is irrelevant. You've got to rock up on the day with these worldies that they've got. And, I'm hoping for a Bristol win by about 15.
Well, it was Bristol who finished top of the table at the end of the regular season, and we can have a chat now ahead of the semi-finals with one of their key men this season. Bristol's England international second row, Dave Attwood, joins us. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
So it's class to have you on. Weekend off, mate. Let's get straight into that. How was that in a compact season? When did you find out that you weren't going to be playing this weekend? Thankfully not, because it was about 40 degrees as well. The lads were hanging this weekend.
We found out in the morning of the game. Obviously there were a few rumours, a few things come out on Rugby Pass and stuff on Friday night saying that there are reportings of COVID up at London Irish. So obviously, given the gravity of the fixture for us, there was a desperation to figure out whether that was true or not. And then we got some messages on Saturday morning, kind of 9 o'clock, saying, right, well, game's on, come into work anyway, because obviously we've tapered off training towards the end of the week, ready to play the game. And you know what it's like professionalism these days. They're like, well, we're not going to miss an opportunity to train. So everyone come in. We're doing fitness. We're doing weights. We're getting
no.
Oh no.
Oh no. I was going to say that's the worst news ever to say that, because boys love playing games, but when a game gets canned and you get absolutely flogged, or you're in the non-23 and you just get a flogging for the sake of it.
Yes.
Literally the worst thing in the world, isn't it? And it was
brutal.
Yeah. I thought Pat Lam would be the sort of coach that would say, hey, lads, this is the best time ever just to get a load of beers in the change room and let's get to know each other even better. That wasn't the case. And he went down the flogging route, did he?
Yeah, he went down the flogging route. I think so the guys who were down to play the game, some of the guys who'd clocked up a lot of minutes, they were sidelined for the running flogging, but everyone was due to get some weights. And we did a bit of team building, a few games and activities in the afternoon, try and make something of it. But it was a bit disappointing, really. Thankfully, because we got a home semi, obviously coming this week, there'll be an opportunity to say goodbye to some of the guys leaving more formally, because that was something that obviously was planned for this weekend, but we might have missed out on.
Yeah, on that as well, I suppose there's a part with that. And again, I don't want to start opening other teams up and the way this whole COVID thing works, but you look at Gloucester, obviously played London Irish a couple of weeks ago. Like, arguably, you've escaped as well from not playing against London Irish in what is, bringing me on to my next question, a massive couple of weeks for the club. Like, to top the table, you lads have been phenomenal this season. Apart from semi, or maybe add him in there, tell us some reasons why. Because looking at the way that you lads play in attack has been phenomenal. But I put a little tweet out about it, like, that's for England again. But the way that some of you lads are playing physically in the pack. I know Eddie listens. He said to Goodey, everything that we say, he's going to do the complete opposite. No, he gave us a nod of appreciation. But mate, why has it gone so well this season? Why has it been so good for Bristol?
I think it's been a pretty upward trajectory since Pat took the reins 4 years ago. If you look at where Bristol finished, obviously coming up into the Premiership, finishing 9th, and then 3rd last year, and then we finished the league in 1st. This year, it's been an upward trajectory. That's mainly down to the philosophy of rugby that Pat plays, and I think we've obviously had some guys join us midway through the season, kind of halfway through last season, and they've been able to kind of pick up and get on with business, slide into the system, and play the kind of expansive rugby that Pat's really pushing on us, and that's, to be honest, that's gained us a lot of credit in the neutral camps. A lot of people like watching us play rugby because we're not necessarily always going to try and exert ourselves physically. We're not always going to try and offload out the back door and take quick lineouts and quick tap penalties. We'll try and mix it up and do a bit of everything.
And let's rewind the clock a little bit further and go back to the week before last and the whole debacle / talking points at the back end of the Leicester game. Everything was centered around John Arfoa, and what people perhaps didn't pick up on was John Arfoa's banter to Steve Borthwick that said, "You won't be thanking me when I get the penalty, mate."
Life.
Come back on. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. So obviously Steve's encouraging John to get on, and John's a bit unsure, like most people were, about what's going on, what's written on the card, what's he allowed to do, what's he not allowed to do, what should he do, what shouldn't he do. And Steve starts kind of congratulating John, maybe a bit prematurely, saying, "Yeah, well done, John, well done. That's very good of you, very good of you," in that kind of slightly kind of condescending tone. And John, obviously, I think you caught it on the ref mic. He just turns around and says, "Oh, you won't be thanking me when we get the penalty. Cheer, boy."
And I mean, it's brilliant. You were sat next to him or pretty near to him at the time on the bench after putting in a shift and coming off. Were you like, "John, mate, just sit down, just don't get up there," just or any advice from him? Or
yeah, obviously. So Johnny started the game, and he'd come back a week earlier. He was out injured. Obviously, as you saw, he got injured against Gloucester, so he came back a week early. He hadn't passed all of his fitness tests and stuff like that. So the medical team, obviously, there's not enough time to tick all that off. So the medical team has sat down with Johnny and Pat and said, what can we get out of you? Kyle Sinclair's tweaked his hamstring. He's not going to be available at all. Johnny's really not far away. Do we think we can get him into the game? So Johnny's, well, yeah, I can play the game. I can start the game for you, but I mean, you're lighting a half-burnt candle kind of thing. I'm only going to last so long, and well, you know what it's like when you get to 57 years of age. Your back's stiff as a board, and that's before you've even started the game. And
don't talk to Jim about backs at the minute, my God.
I know what you mean. I played with that. So he knows I was stiff as a board at 24.
So he's played half a game in the cauldron that is Welford Road. Then he's sat on the sideline for an hour. He's at half time. He's come off, sat still on the sideline in the baking heat for an hour, not doing anything because he's been taken off for a reason of injury. So you see John kind of like get out of the chair. You know what it's like. That's how anyone over the age of 35 in rugby, that's how they move now. That's just getting up out of the chair. So he's kind of hobbled out of the chair with the Zimmer frame, and no one's really sure what's going on, because obviously there's the what's written on the card, what should happen, what shouldn't happen. We're hearing kind of through the mics and stuff that Siali Pietau's coming off because obviously, as far as Pat's concerned, John's injured. So that means we've got to go down to 13. So they're kind of making preparations for Siali Pietau to come off. And then it kind of all hell breaks loose. And then John Afoa sticks two fingers up Steve Borthwick and charges on, wins the scrum.
Just going back to what you were saying about Pat Lam and his ethos around expansive rugby, was there anything that you came across with him that he said in particular around his ethos where you're like, "Oh, geez, that's a bit out there. That's a bit expansive, or it's a bit too much"?
So I think two things. Firstly, when I first met Pat, it was very, very clear that he was running the show. And I mean that very respectfully, because I think that's the way a rugby club should. I think there should be one person, and the pressure is on them. It's their philosophy, it's their guiding light, their decisions on who does what where. And I've been involved in a lot of regimes under different management, and often it doesn't necessarily feel like the person at the top is the person pulling all the strings. It feels like they've kind of got some of the strings. So Pat's a real authoritarian. He knows what he wants. He's quite clear. The coaching staff underneath him are in complete alignment with what he wants to do. And any kind of confusion about anything, they're like, "Okay, Pat, what should we do here? Okay, Pat, what should we do here?" Whether it's attack, defense, whatever, those conversations are going on all the time. The other major point to factor in with Pat Lam is all coaches will talk about the all-court game. They will say, well, when you're deep in your 22, it's high risk, high reward, because the defense have probably only got maybe 10 in the front line, because they've got the fullback back, the wingers back, the outside centre on 3 1/4, a guy in the breakdown. They've maybe only got 10 in the front line, whereas you've got 15 guys to attack with. So there's no easier time to attack and breach the gain line than when you're in your own 22. But the high risk, obviously, is if you make a mistake there, there's huge pressure. So Pat really, really, really emphasises the skill element to it. And every player, however old you are, once you come into the Bears fold, you're working on core skills, player skills, positional skills, team skills, passing, catching, decision making, all of that kind of stuff is going on. Sean Marsden, our skills coach, he's running clinics from 7 a.m. every single day of the week for guys.
Time to have a day off. I used to play with Sean back in the day. Great bloke. Just no need for 7 o'clock in the morning skills.
Well, it's Pat's thing. If you want a job, you got to do what Pat says.
Yeah,
so the guys are in and they're doing the skills, and if you practice it, obviously that risk goes right down, which is why we score so many tries from out of the deep, out of the exit kind of territory, because we work so hard on those skills to reduce that risk. Because you have to be able to punish teams in this league. It's so competitive. If someone gives you an inch, you have to take it and try and grab as much more as you can.
So even in that, even when I'd started doing skills, and I joined these skills classes, like these super skills classes at Saracens, no fucker passed to me anyway to even do it. Like, I couldn't even test my skill set. And when we ever did offloading and the offload went on the floor, they were screaming at me, "What the fuck is that?" I was like, well, isn't it the time to try and practice your offloading? Anyway, talking about Cowboys, and I say Cowboys and myself, but different coaches that you've worked with, talk to us about France and Toulon. I think we had a chat at the side of the pitch. I don't know whether I was still playing or I might have been doing the media. And your appetite to go to France, and you played in Toulon. Much difference between Toulon and the Beaujolais and Bristol's and the powers that be?
The big thing about that I picked up in France, and a large part was due to Fabien Gaultier, who was obviously the coach down there who saw my name on the available list and procured me down there. They kind of let the senior leadership run the rugby, as it were. They had some kind of input, but that Toulon team that I was involved with particularly had so many experienced people like Mar Nonu and people like Brian Habana and Dwayne Vermeulen and Juan Lobe, that they kind of run the systems, they kind of do things, and the coaches very much kind of facilitate the rugby happening on the other side. So that was a really exciting way for me to play, because I'd very much come from the Premiership, which, as you guys know very well, is very much statistical based. It's kind of pressure, statistics, what's the most effective way to play rugby. Whereas in France, the kind of the laissez-faire attitude, as it were, as stereotypical as it is, it's there for a reason. Like, they are so expansive, they care about the beautiful game. And that comes out so much more in the way they play. And for someone who'd been institutionalized by the Premiership for 12 years or so, to get out there and suddenly have kind of the blinkers taken off and be like, oh, well, there's a different way to play the game. There's a different way to do this. That was really exciting from my point of view. And I feel like it's something that added a lot to me as a player before I came back.
With Beaujolais, when you were there, was he on the sideline, cigarette in mouth, just like show us the narrative? Was he at the side of the pitch just yanking lads off?
I got down there. I found out on the Monday. They were like, right. I was on my way into the club to resign at the time in the car, and I got a phone call saying, right, well, we've got an opportunity for you to go to Toulon. Are you interested? And I was like, well, yeah, that's slightly more attractive, I'll be honest, than the London Scottish offer you shoved in front of my face yesterday.
The who? The London Scottish?
Yeah. So wow. So I got on a plane.
This was at Bath, wasn't it? This was when you were leaving Bath.
So I got on a plane and I flew out to the airport in Toulon. I got picked up, taken to a seaside restaurant where I had dinner with Fabien Gaultier at lunchtime. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Lovely fish supper, a couple of bottles of wine. Back on the plane. He then went back to training, like 2 bottles of wine deep. He then went back and coached training.
Oh, I've seen it before. I've seen it.
It's the same on the sideline. Morad's there, like a couple of bottles of beer deep, tabbing away. There's like a couple of the S&C staff in the tunnel tabbing away. It's just such a more relaxed approach to the game. And I understand that when you're looking, the way that the English game particularly is geared up, you look at marginal gains around physical performance. And we're talking about, can you lift an extra 2.5 kilos every weight session in the gym? All these kind of tiny metrics.
Yeah, I get that.
But at the top of the game, at the very top of the game, if you look at kind of the Sarries team of 3 or 4 years ago, and the Bath team of 3 or 4 years ago, and the Leinster team of 3 or 4 years ago, if you look across that squad, physically, everyone's kind of there or thereabouts. There's no one who's got like, oh, well, they've got 27 players that are all jacked up, massive, quick as anything. Like, physically, everyone's there. The difference is upstairs. It's your ability to execute under pressure. And actually, I think their relaxed attitude of kind of enjoying the lifestyle, getting on with your life, and not stressing too much about the marginal detriment that a cigarette before the game is going to have on you. Actually, they get a lot more performance out of it.
Amen. So you've basically gone to France for the lifestyle, the laissez-faire rugby attitude, the odd cig pre-match, and a load of Euros. I mean, what a story! Or go to London Scottish. There's no choices
like
there.
That. Go to London Scottish for the rest of the time, and you just enjoy that.
Well, let's go back to Ruggers then, mate. Let's talk about Quins. Obviously, massive semi-final this week. You've had a couple of decent ding-dongs against them this year. Obviously, the semi-final is at home. You scored a try from 50 metres out in the league game, didn't you, or something like that? I think you might have been offside or a knock-on or something like that. But how are you expecting the game to go? It's like versus like, isn't it? But maybe Quins aren't as good and haven't got as much firepower as you boys, but they play in a way similar sort of ethos-wise to you guys.
Yeah, similar. They're one of the most expansive teams in the league for sure. I think they are a bit more focused on we'll outscore the opposition as opposed to we'll beat the opposition. I think we would probably argue that we're more interested in beating the opposition than outscoring the opposition. I think a byproduct to that is often that we'll score a lot of tries. That's great, but I think one of the reasons why Harlequins is so dangerous is quite often it's certainly apparent that they throw caution to the wind, and they will contest every high ball. They will take quick lineouts, quick taps all over the place, and they'll back the skillful players, the Don Brandts and the Danny Cares of this world to get over the goal line and make something really special happen. And they've got such good players that they can make that happen, which is why they're up in the top four where they are. So it's going to be a very dangerous game from our point of view. I think it's one of those that if you're not concentrating for 80 minutes, it's only going to take one quick tap or one quick line out or one slip up, and suddenly they'll be under the sticks. And because it's semi-final rugby, it might just be that one mistake costs you the game. So I think more than anything, this is a game where we're going to have to really concentrate and stay focused for the entire duration of the game, which has been an area of doubt for us over the season.
And we don't want to look too far into the future. I put a tweet out there, and I've got 74,000 followers on Twitter now, so I'm quite influential. England, 34. I thought you were younger than 34, even though we played together at Gloucester. I had this thing that you were younger than 34. Any chance? And look, speaking candidly, I think you've been brilliant this season. Everyone has, not just in how physical you are in the tackle, but you look fit. I mean, I can see your traps here on Zoom. I imagine you've got a bit of pack coming through now, but also the way that Bristol's want to play. Is there any chat? Is there any ambition at all? I know that Eddie probably want to take a younger team. Have you spoke to him?
There hasn't been any communication particularly. I've always said that until I decide to hang my boots up, that door's open, always open as far as I'm concerned. I love to have that kind of conversation. There's no greater honour for me than putting on the white jersey for sure. But what's happened this season is a product of where my life is at the minute. I'm enjoying my rugby. I'm loving the way that we're doing things. The organisation is incredibly fulfilling off the field. And that's kind of reflected for me on the field. I'm playing some really good rugby. I've got some great players around me. That always helps. But I'm just enjoying what's going on at the minute. So if Eddie needs an experienced head to come and guide the younger guys through, if he needs a bit of grunt, if he needs one of the Premiership's premier scrummaging second rows to come in and sort things out, then he's got my number. I've always got you.
One thing people do say a lot about Bristol is the atmosphere and what goes on away from actually just the rugby. Can you give us some insight into what's different from your time at Gloucester, your time at Bath? It's really intriguing to hear that sort of attitude, because you hear it as a throwaway comment from a lot of people, but about other clubs, I generally believe it about Bristol, whereas at other clubs you perhaps wouldn't believe it as much.
I think all clubs have the right idea. And I've never been at a club where they haven't said the right things. Every club generally says the right things, but it's easy to talk the talk, and it's very difficult to actually do it. That's the crux of it. And I think a large part of that comes down to recruitment. Pat's very selective, not just in the talent that he procures, but in terms of the kind of person that he procures as well. And I think we're very fortunate in Bristol with a lot of the senior players, particularly the John Afoas, Siala Pietaus, Steve Luatu, even Chris Vui, people like that, the real senior stalwarts of the team. Those are the kind of guys that know where the line is. You've all been on a team social where there's a few lads that kind of take things a little bit too far.
Jim,
and it goes
Jim.
having a bit of fun, and then Jim Hamilton's throwing ice at someone across the bar, and then someone
guilty, yeah.
And now you're fighting in a car park. And those kind of senior guys are very good at recognizing when to add a little bit of vibe and momentum and when to actually pull back a little bit. And I think that's a product of recruitment much more so. I don't think you can ever just be like, right, lads, these are our buzzwords. This is what we're about this year. Let's make the ethos, let's make it happen. I think a large part of it is you need to work at recruiting good rugby players who are decent blokes, and that will then kind of shine through in the philosophy and the way that it all melds together. And we're doing the same things that everyone else is. We've got fantasy football leagues, and we play ping pong, and we've got dartboards and all this kind of stuff, like the same as every other club around the Premiership. But we've got a very social environment. We try and do things together a lot. And when we get opportunities to kind of let our hair down and let a little bit loose, there are the right kind of people involved who ensure that we get to the point where we need to, but also that we don't step too far. And that helps kind of balance the squad out. And that is very, very important in terms of stopping those rifts from creating. Because you know what it's like at the top flight of rugby, the haves and the have-nots, the team that get picked on the weekend, and then the guys that don't.
The Jim Hamiltons. Yeah, the Jim Hamiltons.
More the Jimmy Cowans, I was thinking, the loose of the gooses.
And it's very easy for that to separate, and you kind of, especially after a beer or two, things to get to a bit fractious, and it's very important to keep tabs on that. And this environment, more so than any environment I've ever been at before, there's a real emphasis from the playing squad, not just from the coach staff, from the playing squad, of you've kept me out of the team. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for the team because I'm pushing as hard as I can. You've got the shirt. You've got an opportunity to play on the weekend. I'm happy for you. And that's something that is very hard to generate. And it's something that we're fortunate we've got in abundance.
I'm just glad ice throwing still goes on in bars, Jim.
No, this was circa 2010 or 11 when you were when you're allowed to do it. As before you go, because you're a philanthropist like myself. I can't even say
what, Jim?
A philanthropist. Basically, you're an intellect. You're an intellect like my good self, Ats.
Are you trying to say I'm a philanthropist or a philosopher?
That's the one. You both have it together.
Philanthropist, isn't it, Jim? What are you on about?
Whatever that word is, I thought I am.
Philosopher.
Or I am. Just call me the philosopher's stone. That's what you're doing outside of rugby, because I don't think it's, not that there's anything wrong with becoming a painter and decorator or a bricklayer, but you're doing some more academia. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So before we crossed paths and you set me on the straight and narrow at Gloucester, I'd read an undergrad degree in physics and philosophy. I have just completed. I'm awaiting results for law conversion. In fact, I had my exams. The week we played Sale away, I had 3 24-hour exams on the Monday, the Wednesday, and the Friday. So I woke up in the hotel in Manchester, got my exam at 9 a.m. and started scribbling away. And then at kind of 5 o'clock, had to down tools, go and play the game in Salford, finish the game, back in the changing room on my laptop, back on the bus on my laptop, finish the exam. So thankfully, I've kind of through the other side of that now. And I'm looking to get involved in some kind of legal capacity at the minute. I've got some opportunities at the minute. I'm representing people at the club at the minute. I'm trying to straighten all this business of the Leicester debacle the other week up with Pat, and helping to try and kind of smooth that over and make that disappear nice and quietly. But I've been fortunate enough to be able to represent a couple of the players in the squad for citing hearings and stuff like that, which has been a great experience for me, but a nice kind of precursor for life after rugby. It'd be nice to get involved in rugby in some capacity.
Thanks so much. Best of luck for the weekend.
Thanks so much. Catch you soon.
Top lad.
Yeah, mate. He really is a top boy indeed. It's still rocking at 34. But just hearing, he's happy to talk stuff, isn't he? You know, mentioned about what goes on at Gloucester when you're scrapping in a car park after lob. Who did you lob ice on and then scrapping the car park? That's what I'm.
Well, someone threw ice at me. Basically, when I was in Gloucester, someone's lobbed ice at me, and because I had a bit of a temper on me, I've thrown it. I just blamed whoever was laughing, and I threw it over that way. Next thing, a table goes up. Jimmy Cowan's got a pair of pants in his hand that he's ripped off one of the lads, and all hell breaks loose. Those were the days. But good to see that Ats has outgrown them days, but it gave him a strong foundation to become the academic that he is now. I cannot believe. I was thinking in my head, what am I? I'm a philanthropist. Why can't I say it? A philanthropist.
Oh dear, philanthropist.
Philanthropist.
And Saracens will be back in the Premiership next season, Jim, after they won the first leg of their Championship playoff final against Ealing 60-0 away from home. You thought Ealing's defence was pretty good though, didn't you?
And hell of a tweet, hell of a tweet, Jim.
Hell of a tweet. I tweeted it after about 10 minutes. It didn't feel like a 60-point victory. And
it was.
But that's what I mean. That's actually the gulf of difference. I don't, like Billy mentioned after the game that, that's the performance that they wanted. That could have been 70 or 80. There was a couple of failed, Sean Maitland, a couple of opportunities as well. I thought Ealing played as well as they possibly could. That's not being horrible.
Defense. You're saying all that and they had a good defence, Jim. You said.
They were physical in defence. For the first 20 minutes, they were. I mean, I think it might have been 20 minutes after that. I spoke to Kelly Brown and we were chatting about it in the lead up or whatever. He's obviously left Glasgow and now Glasgow are flying. He's gone to Sarries and he's on the pitch line with his mask on. He's all over doing the media, which is great. We're getting a bit of insight from them. But I think naturally they were worried about that game. Of course they were. There could have been a red card. Anything could have happened. But on paper, you should be winning 60-0 against Ealing. Really, shouldn't you? They had nothing apart from an amazing defence. I'm not being sarcastic either.
No, you're not.
In the tackle, they were tackling Billy, tackling Mako. Swinno got banned back about 10 times.
Swinno, mate, MOM. Was Swinno not man of the match?
Yeah, he was, but that was, I think, Blackman or Topsy Ojo gave him just to take the piss out of it. He was very good.
Yeah, and this is a big thing. Obviously, listen, Saracens got relegated for the reasons that we all know about, and Jim's got a beautiful house up in Edinburgh because of it. But what I will say is, you feel for Ealing because a 60-point drop in, people are going to look at it and go, oh, the gulf's massive between the Premiership and the Champo. Well, Ealing are by far and away the best team outside of Saracens in that Champo. If Ealing played Worcester, who have won one game all year, the first game of the season, I think they'd have been super competitive. So, you're playing a team that's broken the salary cap for 6 years on the spin, got British Lions galore in their squad and internationals everywhere else. It's never going to be a close scoreline, is it? When there's something as serious as promotion on the line. So, Saracens were dominant with the team they picked. Farrell looked like a 14-year-old boy with his cap on, kicking in the warm-up, but played pretty well. And we're going to see Sarries back in the Prem next year with, just check the wage cap. That's all I'm saying.
Well, should we have a look at the rumour mill?
Go on, then.
What do you got, boys?
My favourite. I hope it happens. After failing to get to the Trans-Tasman Super Rugby final, we ain't seen no disco dancing or break dancing from Scotty Robertson. He's going to bring it to Bath. I'm hearing he might be bringing it to Bath. That's all I want. I'd love Scotty Robertson doing the Bath DOR job and then making him break dance in the wreck when the pitch is about 4 foot underwater. That'd be unbelievable to watch, wouldn't it?
He is a man that could bring out the Hoover and be dancing around with a Hoover and stuff like that and make it look unbelievably cool. I'd love to see that bloke. I'd love to see Scotty Robertson come over to the UK. He's obviously at some point in line to take the All Blacks job whenever that time comes.
So the All Blacks job is up this year with Foster. His contract comes to an end.
Okay. And what's he said about it, anyway? Intel.
What's Foster?
Well, he want to keep it, won't he?
Yeah.
Rugby.
But if
they ain't changing
if Scott Robertson gets that job, which everyone in New Zealand wants him to get, then he'll stay. But if he doesn't get that job, which is also quite likely, then he'll look to come over here.
Yeah, is it the same narrative in New Zealand with the All Blacks, Andy Rowe, with us talking about players and Eddie's like, no, whatever them jokers say on the rugby pod, it ain't happening. When we're and everyone else is bigging up Scotty Robertson for doing the breakdancing, is it the same thing? They're like, no, we're not having this bloke.
So Scott Robertson is like the Sam Simmons.
Yeah.
If you can see that analogy.
Yeah. I get it. And I don't think New Zealand are changing Fozzie, Ian Foster, before the World Cup 2 years out. He's staying in that job. Are you mates with him? No, just it's his nickname, isn't it? Gats told me his name's Fozzie. So, mate, I think he will stay in the job to the World Cup. You might see Scott Robertson sign a 2-year deal with Bath. Please, God. Please let Scott Robertson come to the Premiership and take over the reins at Bath. And then Scott Robertson, at some point, he's destined to be the All Blacks coach, isn't he? But they don't mind you going abroad and get a bit of experience. Because where can you go? You can stay at the Crusaders and keep winning the real Super Rugby, Aotearoa, or whatever you want to call it. There's nowhere else for them to go in New Zealand except the top job. And I can't see them changing Foster after having COVID, after everything that we've been through 2 years before a World Cup. I just can't see it. Can you, Andy Rowe? You're a Kiwi.
But it depends on how the All Blacks go this year. If the All Blacks beat the Wallabies, if they lose to the Wallabies,
they ain't losing to the Wallabies.
If they lose to the Wallabies, then Foster's
got to go.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's got to go. He's got.
Get rid of it.
If they lose to the Wallabies, he's got to go, because I think the Australian Super Rugby teams, do they win one game?
I think they won 2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah. I want Scott Robertson in England, and then he can go back and do the All Blacks job post-2023 World Cup.
Any other rumours flying around?
There was something out there about George Ford leaving Leicester.
Oh,
interesting.
To Montpellier. It was interesting seeing him in the stands at the weekend. But Steve Borthwick said he was injured, so I presume he is injured. But
yeah,
could you see him leaving?
Trouble.
Could you see him leaving his dad and heading to Montpellier, which I've seen a rumour somewhere? And again, these are rumours. This ain't me making up. I've just seen something. Let's just say he's gone. Let's just say he's gone.
I can't see. Do you know what? I can't see it going. I mean, you look around the Premiership. Who else could George Ford go to in the Premiership? He's on a very good deal at Leicester. Not as much as people think, but he's on a good deal there. And obviously, he left Bath acrimoniously to go back to Leicester. Manufactured that deal through, some issues that went on at Bath with his dad and stuff like that. You then think around, the only other place you could see him go to in the Prem really is Sale. I can't see George Ford leaving England and leaving Leicester to go to play in France a year before the World Cup, unless Marcus Smith all of a sudden just pushes him down the pecking order. And then, he's making a decision around, we know Montpellier got bags of money. They've broken the salary cap in France, I think. But they've got Andre Pollard, who's been out injured for a year. George Ford, I can see him going somewhere post-World Cup 2023. I think he's off contract at the end of next season, so watch this space for that one.
Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, producer Tim, and thank you very much for listening. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube and head on over to Spotify, and we'll see you there.
Rugby Pod.
Spotify, pod.